Finally, car prices are starting to drop like a rock. Or are they? Or are they just starting to equalize? Obviously, since 2020 was a big impact. The car market started to scramble because of supply chain challenges, shortages of vehicles, and the relatively low interest rates up until about 6 months ago caused absolute chaos in the market and made buyers scramble for any vehicle they can get their hands on. That meant high competition, low availability, meant the market was absolutely unstable and people paid way more than they should have for the last couple of years. But things are changing this year. According to Cox Automotive, there might actually be a leveling this year of the pricing of the automotive industry. This is actually expected to be the best year since the early 2020. The 2024 forecast report by Cox actually states that this year, 2024, is likely going to swing drastically over to a buyer's market. We've seen the last year or so where customers were just paying way too much money for a car because they sort of had to. Now, nobody was bending their rubber arm. The reality was customers really caused this problem and people were buying. And with low interest rates and the government's handing out money left hand over fist during the last few years, it just put people in a place where they had a little extra expendable cash, a lot of time at home, and it's time to go buy your new sports car, new SUV, new car, new truck, whatever it was. People were buying and spending money, but the availability wasn't there. There were shortages of vehicles, supply chain, they couldn't get chips in vehicles, and car lots were loaded with vehicles that were 99% built. Because they were shortage of chips and modules, they couldn't be sold to the customer. And very few cars that were fully functional were available for the customer to buy. And therefore it left people waiting. Obviously caused a big disruption in both new vehicles because you couldn't get vehicles at all. It was very difficult, or you had to have extremely long waits, especially where more complex vehicles, for example, hybrids, Toyota was one of the key indicators there. They couldn't sell vehicles fast enough. You had to buy directly from the factory. And they were bringing them out in a rationing fashion. People just couldn't get their hands. And even still today, it still takes a year, year and a half, up to 2 years to get a hybrid Toyota. For example, a Prius Prime might actually take you close to 2 years to get today. A big driver in the shift of pricing and moving over to a buyer's market is the fact that during that last couple of years, there was only roughly a collective total of about 1 million vehicles available in the industry. That is actually shifting to a place where we're well over 3 million vehicles available, obviously drastically increasing the availability, the options. Customers have more options as well to buy, and of course they have the potential to walk away when they don't see the deal that they want. We're starting to see it already. A lot of manufacturers, for example, Ram, Ford, even offering up a lot of incentives, 0% on a lot of select vehicles as well. They're knocking off a lot of prices on base. MSRP is getting chiseled right off, and you can get yourself a great deal in some applications. Now, not every vehicle is the same, and some manufacturers are holding strong, but clearly vehicles that are maybe moderate sellers or have a much higher inventory or have typically been sitting on the car lot for much longer are going to be the vehicles that you're going to have a much better deal on, and likely the buyer will start to see those benefits. With that said, overall sales should grow about 2%, up to 15.5 million sales total for this year. And as a result, the increased availability and supply should clearly keep prices at bay. And all this will likely drive more incentives and opportunities for a great deal. We would also anticipate used vehicles outnumbering new vehicle sales by a ratio of about 2 to 1 this year, to an expected forecast of about 36.2 million units. But unfortunately, the CPO units are down and the volume of those available are going away. So I would only anticipate about 2.5 to 2.7 million units, even being 3% year over year increases, meaning that it's going to be a lot tighter to get yourself a late model, great certified pre-owned vehicle that they'll add warranty because of no accidents, no collisions, no problems, low mileage, and as well good enough to recertify with additional warranty. So those vehicles are the highly desirable ones, usually late model 1, 2, 3 years old, but those numbers are slightly shrinking, driving up the push for people to look elsewhere. And 2023 exposed that there was about 1 million EVs sold, and this year 2024 promises to be a vastly improved market grab, of course, by a lot of electrified market manufacturers. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people that don't like them are going to be disappointed to see the shift and see more electric vehicles on the road and less internal combustion vehicles, as all of the manufacturers are starting to transition, slowly generating more models that have electric drive and less that have internal combustion. As a matter of fact, manufacturers like Audi, for example, are transferring, so within a year or two, you're going to see only electric vehicles. And clearly by 2035, for A lot of manufacturers are supposed to be mandated. Essentially, California, a lot of states as well as Canada, a lot of parts of Europe are saying as well by 35 there should be no internal combustion engine vehicles around. So clearly there's going to be a lot of strong incentives on both ends. Internal combustion manufacturers that are a little late to the EV game are going to be pushing hard to continue sales because they're not developed enough on the electrified side. But the EV marketplace is also going to be pushing hard, squeezing, flexing those muscles, trying to get more sales because now they're fighting with a bigger or smaller market share. And the fact remains is Tesla, Rivian, they're not the only game in town. There's every manufacturer starting to develop a lower cost alternative as well as a more premium version of electrified vehicles. So there's going to be that constant fight and grab, push and pull for that space in the market for EVs. If you want internal combustion, remember, the days are numbered, so you definitely want to get on it. And a lot of people realize that. So they're going to make a decision, I might want to jump in and get one of these internal combustion vehicles. But still, the fact remains is a lot of the manufacturers, both EV and ICE, are fighting for market share, and they're looking at offering up many more incentives as we transition to this next phase. Now, when you actually combine pure EVs, that's pure driven by electric and electric motor, as well as vehicles that are hybrid, so that's internal combustion engine and hybrid power combined, and you put those two vehicle types together, they collectively will own about 24% of the total contribution to the market in 2024. Clearly, they're in the growth space. So the other thing that's going to add to this marketplace being a strengthening for the buyer is the fact that there's going to be less buyers available. It's simple as that. It's basic economics. Interest rates are still holding high. And even though there might be some adjustments and there's some leveling, the fact is the labor force is slightly softening. Interest rates are still very high. The inventory of vehicles is growing, and especially in a lot of the vehicles like the trucks, where a lot of the manufacturers are clearly losing touch with what's going on out there, and they continue to jack up the prices, I mentioned in a previous video. The fact remains is there's going to be a stronger need and a demand for a lower cost entry-level type vehicle for the consumer because they just don't have the money. They're trying to keep a roof over their head. They're trying to keep food in their mouth. And yet sometimes if they need a new vehicle, they're not be looking for a $100,000 F-150. They might be looking for a $20,000 Kia instead to get themselves around from A to B. So there's definitely some market forces here. Economics is a big factor, high cost of living, and the general weakening of the automotive industry combined with the overabundance of extra inventory means that likely the market is starting to do this. Maybe not literally drop like a rock, and certainly weaken and become more of a buyer's market. Well, I hope that helps everybody. If you've been thinking about buying a new car, 24 here might in fact be that year. Watch out for those incentives. Don't take no for an answer. Be willing to walk away. And of course, make sure you shop around. So hope everybody loved the video. Be sure to check out that. What's going on with the truck market? It's absolutely going insane, and it's on the verge of collapse. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.